This episode is brought to you by CarterComics.com. It's your one-stop shop for all your comic needs, whether it be graded or raw. Carter Comics has got it all. All you gotta do is go to CarterComics.com, fill your card up with all their amazing comics. Use the discount code FREAKNET, FREAKNET. Save you 10% at checkout. Not only on their website, but also at their eBay account. And the link to eBay can be found on their homepage at CarterComics.com. Again, CarterComics.com is your one-stop shop for all comic needs. What's up, everybody? I am Travesty.
And I'm Cartoon Joe.
And welcome back to a new season of this freaking show. It is a weekly podcast with a little bit of something and a whole lot of nothing. And I believe it's season 9. I think it's season 9 sounds right. I think it's season 9.
Sure.
Sounds accurate. I'm pretty sure it is. I'll know as soon as I release the show and everything. But Joe, great break. Some great downtime, some great relaxation. I'm sure people are like, when are they coming back? Where are they at? Where did they go? It's like, yeah, we're fine. We're here. Everything's good. It's good. We're going to talk about some Chicago stuff today because I feel that there are a couple. Well, there's one thing in particular that it's kind of cool that I definitely want to talk about. There's another thing that's kind of cool, and I think we should talk about it.
Okay.
And there's another thing that's it could be cool, and I think we should recognize it.
Okay.
And they all kind of like link together, which is also kind of cool. Dude, I hate glasses. You ever? And I don't know, like maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the weird one in the world. But maybe it's because I don't wear glasses that often. But is it normal, like when you blink and stuff, to have like specks show up on your like glasses as if like moisture is being flung from your eyes?
No, I don't think so.
I don't understand
I
it.
could be wrong, but I don't think so.
I don't get it. It's weird to me. I don't know if my eyeballs are an excessive moisture, but like I can have pretty clear glasses, and then I can put the glasses on, and I'll sit there and blink, and all of a sudden like there's like these spots, like these like liquid moisture spots that show up on my glasses. I'm like, I don't know what it is. Yeah, maybe it's alarming. I don't know. Like I said, I don't wear glasses all the time.
I don't know that it's alarming, just unusual.
Who knows? I don't. I mean, listen, you're a lifelong glasses guy.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever happened to me.
I don't even know. I'll tell you right now, though. This thing, these specs on my specs are appalling. I don't know if this will even work, but I'm doing it. Joe, how are you? How have you been? What did you do on our time off besides being sick?
Yeah, I'm all right. I was sick for a little while there. Recovered. While I was sick, I watched all of Andor, the Star Wars show, and then on Geekcast Live, we've been doing a little series on Andor for the past couple of weeks, and tomorrow we're going to wrap it up with Rogue One. So that'll be dope. And,
is Andor the Star Wars show where everyone dies?
It is the Star Wars show that leads into the movie where everybody dies. Yeah.
Okay. I remember Steve from the Power Hour here on Freakin Studios. He was talking briefly about Star Wars with one of his guests. I think it was actually last week. I think they're talking about a Star Wars show that it's a newer show. They're talking about how like kind of like shows where everyone dies or something like that. I was like, okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Now they're all fogged.
What else? I've been playing this great video game called Blueprints. Okay. Very fun. It was free on PlayStation Network during their days of play.
What is it?
Snagged it. It is a game where you are the inheritor of a mansion.
Okay.
If you can get to the 46th room that can only be reached by the 45th room, and the 46th room doesn't show up on any maps, you can't tell that it's there from outside the building. It's like a almost a secret room that's only known to the owner of the thing. And so to prove that you're worthy of the inheritance, you have to solve a series of puzzles to get into that room.
Did you get to the
And
room?
it's I did. I did. And then you find out that like getting to the room after I don't know, God, probably 20 to 40 hours of playtime, you have just finished basically the tutorial for the game instead of finishing the game. So I thought I beat the game, and then it was like, oh, by the way, now that you've done that, here's a million other things you can do because you've proven yourself. And there's this like storyline that seems to be happening of um, like you're the heir of an ancient kingdom that was conquered by another kingdom, and your mom had to disappear and is presumed dead, and all of this stuff. And it's a wild ride. I'm having a good time playing it.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That
So it's
reminds
kind of a
me.
go ahead.
It reminds me of the. I can't remember the phone game. Where it's basically like you play Bejeweled and you're like remodeling this mansion or whatever
Mm,
that this guy takes inherits or whatever from his parents, and yeah.
yeah, I've seen the ads for that game, but I don't think I've
I
played
can't
it.
remember what it's called, but it's kind of cool.
Ooh,
It's
excuse me.
addictive, I'll tell you that much. I mean, there are a lot of tiresome work days when I'm laying in bed binging this game, trying to get to the next room to play the next room and stuff. And they know what they're doing because they give you like just enough to keep playing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's cool, man. I think
Yeah.
see, and it's kind of like games like that where it kind of seems more like strategic
Mm-hmm.
sounding, where like I get more invested in games like that, like especially like when I play like MLB The Show. I still do my road to the show where I'm still actively playing as a ball player, but I have a lot more fun being in franchise mode, or March to October, where I have to, be like the general manager to build the team. I think the strategy games are where I have like a lot more fun in. I think that's why kind
Mm-hmm.
of like I enjoy Monopoly so much, because you have to strategically buy and all that stuff. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool, man. It's
Yeah, it's a
good.
fun game. You gotta the whole thing resets every day, and you're like laying out different whatever
Yeah.
rooms and stuff. It's fun. It's a good time. I've probably so I got to room 46 after like 30 hours, and it's now
Yeah.
probably been 100 hours in the last month. Just like every spare minute I have, I'm playing it.
So what do you
It's
do
fun.
after you get to the 46 room?
You get to the 46th room. The first time you get to it, there's like a cut scene, and then the next day starts. And you've lost everything. Everything is reset. You start over, but now there's like you walk in and there's a new letter on the table when in the entry hall saying like, hey, congratulations, you did the thing. Keep playing, kind of a thing. And what I have discovered from now more countless hours of gameplay is there are um there are rooms that give you secret keys that you don't know about the first time around that
Okay.
open doors in like an underground tunnel that you like the underground tunnel is like your goal because it's the only place with the lever to open the door to the 46th room.
Mhm.
And then you start discovering other rooms that have that lever, and like a throne room, and a bunch of other puzzles that let you start the day with different perks, and a scepter and a crown and a cursed effigy. It's wild. There's all sorts of stuff. And so I'm at the point now where I'm pretty sure I know what I have to do to I don't know if it's beat the game at this point or if it's just unlock the next thing. And so you have to have a certain set of items on you and go into the throne room to trigger the next cutscene. And so that's what I've been trying to do.
It sounds to me like the developers of this game, because it sounds like it's fun.
Yeah.
But it sounds
Very
like the
fun.
developers, when they came up with this game, just wanted to be a dick.
A little bit
And-
feels like
and-
that. Mhm,
And be
mhm.
like, okay, Charles, who I'm assuming his name's Charles. We gotta come up with a game. What are you thinking? Let's call it 46th room. It's like, why that? It's like, well, because you gotta get to the 46th room. We'll just make this big ass mansion. And there's a lot
Mhm.
of strategic ways you gotta get to the 46th room. He's like, yeah, but where's the challenge in that? It's like, it's a hidden room. There's only 45 rooms. It's like, oh, okay, well then what happens after you beat the game? It's like, beat it again.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, but what's the goal after you get to the 46th room? It's like amnesia, start all over,
Yep.
get to the 46th. It's like, okay, well, maybe we got to come up with a cool new name. Like, how about Blueprint? Well, why Blueprint? It's like, I don't know, map it out.
Yeah. You're laying out different blueprints
Right?
for each room every day.
Yeah.
And the whole mansion resets every day.
So when
So
you find something or discover something, and then you find the 46th room, what you just found just gets wiped away and you start all over.
Yep. And it may not be in your draw pile the next day.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. It's a pain in the ass, is what it is.
it. It
And
sounds
it's very fun.
it sounds fun. It sounds like it get addicting, but it also sounds like it's just gonna be like in an instant one day you're like, I'm done. Like I
Yeah.
found this. Like, do they say, or is it somewhere? Does it tell you how many different ways it is to find this room, or is it potentially infinite?
To find the 46th room, there
Yeah.
are there's probably just a handful of ways, because there's only two ways to open it that I've found. One is a lever in the underground and one is a lever in the throne room. But to get to the 45th room, there are one, two, three, four or five ways, I think, to unlock the 45th room so
Oh,
that you can get to the 46th room.
blueprints.
Yeah.
Oh, they said
Yeah,
blueprint.
the whole thing is a
Oh.
pun. I did the same thing when someone told me about it, and that's how I found it. Yeah. That's why I was very careful to say yes, blueprints would be good for laying it out. Yeah.
The main
It's very punny.
puzzle of this room is the 8 realms puzzle. It is a very complex and long puzzle. Following
Yep.
this page is okay. Gotcha. Okay, well, it contains statues of characters of the story: Simon Sinclair, Clara Epson, Mary Jones, Simon Jones.
Yep.
I don't know who Mount Holly is, but okay.
The name of the estate.
Blueprints. Prince.
Yeah. Yeah. So you as you're playing, you realize that you are the blue prince.
Okay.
And your goal. I don't know fully yet how it's going to matter, but I think somehow when I trigger the next cutscene, I'm going to become like actual royalty from the deposed line.
Blueprints, it has one simple objective: reach room 46 in a manner with only 45 rooms. Yet, due to the random nature of Mount Holly, reaching this mysterious room is a lot more difficult than it seems. This is especially the case with how it can be difficult to get to the room you need to even reach it. Daunting as it may seem, it is possible, and there are several different ways of reaching it. In fact, it can be done without solving some of the more complex puzzles in the game. Here's how to reach the room. How to reach the room. Antechamber levers. Okay.
Yep. Those are the 3 or 4 or 5 ways that you can open the antechamber.
Yep. Inside the antechamber, I guess there's a key.
Yep.
I guess there's a door. I guess you go to the basement. Okay. What's all these? Like, why is there footsteps in the upper left corner?
The other thing is that you are like a 10-year-old, and so you have like 50 steps to start the day, And every time you enter a new room, you lose a step. It costs you a step to enter a new room. And so you, at the start of it, you could only have 50 steps in a 45 room building to make it to room 46. And if you have to backtrack, you're screwed, right? But you can eat food and that increases the number of steps you have. Or if you draw a bedroom, it represents rest. And so, you get some steps back from resting. And so there's this whole strategy around doing that. There's another thing you can unlock called the sauna that gives you 20 extra steps the next day. After you get to the 46th room the first time, you gain an extra 20 steps permanently, which is nice.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah,
Well, that's cool.
it's very fun. So, and it fits well with the other thing I've been doing, which is I'm officially the newest member of Evans Lodge 524. I do.
Made it official,
Masonic
huh?
Lodge. What's that?
Made it official.
Yep, they made it official. They voted me in and everything. Don't have a dues card yet, so I don't know how official it is, but
Yeah. Oh, that'll be coming.
yeah.
That'll be coming.
Yep. But what about you? What have you been up to? Like a month.
God, so when did we record last?
I don't remember at this point.
I know it was before my birthday.
Yep.
So I turned 36.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, turned 36. I mean, I had my week off. I was able to relax. There was a lot of stuff I wanted to do around the house that I just did not do. And that's on me. I just the lazy part of me, definitely kicked in. So I need to be better at that. I honestly haven't been doing a whole lot. Like nothing's really changed, nothing's really new, which is unfortunate. I would love for it to be, especially with it being summertime now and it's getting a little bit nicer out. Like I was hoping by now, I'd have the house in complete order. Maybe got some woodworking started and gotten back into it and everything. And it's just not. It's just I think just the lazy mindset that I have just is still has a pretty decent hold on me. But I don't know. It's I want to say that I've been doing a lot of things, but I haven't. I mean, I've been going to church a little bit more, not consistently, but I've been going. I've been going with Ashley and the kids, so that was cool.
Nice.
That's about it, man. Like nothing exciting. I've been taking, I took a break from the wrestling shows. Just kind of just being a hermit.
Just resting. Nice.
Yeah,
you gotta do that every once in a while. It's good for you.
Yeah. So I think like I know I gotta kind of motivate myself to start doing things, and hopefully that kind of like triggers in my head and stuff. So just to be more in life, I guess. But yeah, no, nothing exciting, bro. I was enjoying the break. I was enjoying the relaxation, but I was like, we got to get back into the show, especially with September coming up and us going to Iowa. Got to get into the groove of just being able to just enjoy stuff again. And like I said, there were a few things that popped up that I'm like I was really excited to kind of talk about. But yeah, no, it's like. Yeah, dude, honestly, you playing that game is the most exciting thing between the both of us right now. So
I've been enjoying the heck out of that game, man.
I'm glad to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Something did happen before we took our break. I don't remember if we talked about it. It may have came up in but Pope Leo.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about him.
Sure.
I guess not a whole lot. I mean, and I don't know what you know. I mean, in my mind, I'm like, Joey knows everything about the Pope.
Not everything, but I've learned a lot.
Not him, but Pope.
Oh, the concept.
Yeah. The concept of Pope. Like Joey's got now.
Oh, excuse me.
So for those of you who may not know, Pope Leo the XIV, or born as Robert Francis Prevost, I think. It says he was born in Chicago. Technically, I think I guess he was born in Chicago, raised in Dalton, Illinois. He is the first pope to be born in North America.
Mhm.
Second in the Americas
Mhm.
is, I guess, also Pope Francis
Yep,
was
he
born
was South
South
American.
America. Yeah. So, what? I guess like so my first question I'm going to ask you. If you don't know these answers, you don't know these answers, but I'm just curious about it, and maybe you do know the answer. Why is he the first pope born in North America? Why?
So boy, that's a more complicated question than I expected.
Is it really?
Um, a
Like,
little bit.
like, was there like a whole thing? Because I mean, where's the most like what country or whatever or area has the most popes? Is it
I
Italy?
believe
I would
Italy,
think
probably
it'd be,
Italy.
why is that though?
Because that's where the Vatican is.
Yeah, but I mean, but even then, like, because technically the Vatican's its own country, right? The Vatican's not part of Italy.
Right, but
Just because it's the closest spot.
yeah, basically. I mean, it's like right in the middle of Italy's capital city.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing is like, so Italy is actually a pretty new country on the grand scheme. They, I think, only unified probably like 100, maybe 150 years ago.
Okay.
And so like they, you say Italy, but like if you go to the Wikipedia page, it actually says Italian Peninsula because they previously to about I think 1850-ish, every region of Italy was technically its own kingdom,
Mhm.
or like mini country kind of thing.
So
But yeah,
what? So what came?
217 popes came from the Italian peninsula.
So what came first, the Pope or Italy?
The Pope.
Really? Okay.
Mhm. Yep,
So the Pope ruled through Vatican, always the Vatican,
pretty much,
and they just created Italy around it.
sort of.
Now, how does that work?
Um,
How do they absorb all this country or all this land, but not the Vatican?
yeah. So part of it was it used to. I mean, it used to be the Roman Empire, right? And it stretched from uh Britain all the way to like Asia Minor, so like Turkey. And then it shrunk quite a bit, and then shrunk again to where it was basically just the Italian peninsula. And then about the time that Italy actually became a country, they basically said to the Pope, like, "Hey, we can take all your land, or you can have a little bit for for Vatican City.
Yeah.
What would you prefer?" And they said, "Well, we'll just have a little bit for Vatican City, thank you." And so that's basically how it happened, more or less.
Gotcha.
I mean, obviously there are some details, but that's really what it comes down to is the papal. So when the empire fell, my opinion, more than I think there are historians who disagree with me, but my opinion is that when there ceased to be an empire in an emperor in the West, the Pope kind of stepped into that power vacuum,
Yeah.
and the church became sort of Rome. And so even though Rome, the country, no longer existed, the Catholic faith still held sway over all of Europe, almost all of Europe. And then as countries began to become more independent, and then you have the Reformation, they start developing their own national identities apart from the Catholic faith. And so eventually gets to the point where the Italian people are like, we want to be our own people. We don't want to be ruled by the Vatican. We don't want to be ruled by religious figures. We want a king. We want an Italian king who represents us. Um, and so the nobles all worked together to kind of overthrow the Pope, and then said like, we'll cede you this land, or you can fight us. And if you win, great, you get to have whatever you want, but we're going to win. And when we win, you're not going to have anything. So pick your poison.
Do you know who the longest reigning Pope was?
Not off the top of my head.
According to this, again, this is Wikipedia, so take that for what it will. Be St. Peter from 34 to 38. No, wait. Sorry. From C 30. So I guess that's the
Circa.
year 30
Uh huh.
to either 64 or 68. So he was Pope for anywhere from 34 to 38 years. I guess they don't have a definitive time. It's kind of wild. Did you think? Think they would know?
Wow, they think
Uh,
that's the
what's up?
longest is 34 years. That's wild to me.
That's what, again, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what the heck this is. Pope Pius IX.
Yep.
What is the BI in front of it?
I have no idea. What BI?
There's like so if I'm looking at the list, it's like it's an uppercase B, lowercase L, or an uppercase B, uppercase I, but it's BI period Pius IX. That's I'm not sure what that means.
I'm not sure. I'm not seeing it on the I don't know if we're on the same page or not.
So I'm just under the Pope Wikipedia.
Oh, gotcha. I'm on list of popes by length of reign.
Oh, there you go. So I'm on Wikipedia. It's just like the longest reigning Pope section, and there's like a BI or BL, but I'm not quite sure what that. I guess it's a capital B, capital I. I thought maybe it was like bishop or something like that, but bishops
Yeah,
and
maybe.
things. So he was from 1846 to 1878, 31 years, 7 months. St. John II, so right before the one that just passed away, 78 to 2005, 26 years. Yeah. There was one guy, Avignon Pope Benedict the 13th, from 1394 to 1423. He ruled for 28 years, 7 months, and 12 days, which would place him third. But I guess he was regarded as an anti-pope.
Yeah, there was this weird thing that happened in the what does it look like? The 14th century, where very briefly they couldn't decide who was pope, and so the French wanted the power that the Italians had, and so the French made their own pope, and they moved the papacy to Avignon instead of leaving it at the Vatican. But of course, you know, there were a group of cardinals who kept it at the Vatican, and then a group that went to France, and there was some fighting about that, and then they eventually reunited, and it's whatever. I think they dug this guy up. One of these guys got dug up and put on trial as a corpse.
Really?
That was the thing they decided to do. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yep.
Shortest pope. Do you want to guess how long the shortest reign as pope was?
How long is that?
13 days.
Wow.
Urban the 7th, in September of 1590, he was from September 15th to December 27th in 1590, reigned for 13 days. He died before his coronation.
Wild.
Yeah. So I guess there's a lot more popes than I thought.
Oh, yeah,
but anyway, so Pope Leo.
Yeah.
Born in Chicago, so American born pope.
Yep.
And Joey already mentioned the history of popes, why, you know, this is the first pope. So kind of weird to me though that
so generally it's a very political process, right? And so when they're thinking about who they're going to pick, they're thinking about not just what's good for the church in the moment administratively, but they're thinking about like what country is going to, you know, we're going to be giving a certain amount of power to whatever country he's from, or prestige or whatever. And so there's that consideration. A lot of popes were picked because they came from powerful families. They were the second or third son from a really powerful family in Europe for several hundred years there. Francis was the first pope from the Americas. He was also the first Jesuit, which is an interesting thing, which is a monastic order within the Catholic Church. Nobody ever thought there would be an American pope while the United States of America exists, whatever tense you want to put that in. Because America as a nation is so powerful on the global stage that having a pope from here would potentially give America too much power if it was a pope who could be swayed or influenced or corrupted by anything going on politically in our country. And so it's really interesting that they picked this guy, and he was under Pope Francis, he was the cardinal whose job it was to decide which bishops would become cardinals. And so, in a way, the job that he had under Francis was Francis's way of saying, "This is the guy I want as my successor." The other thing is that he is essentially he picked all the guys who voted for him in a way, like 2/3 of the College of Cardinals were guys who he gave them their jobs. And I just picked a random number. I don't know if it was 2/3, but quite a large number of the College of Cardinals were guys that he basically said, you get to be a cardinal. And so there's a lot of influence there too. And there's a part of me that's like, I don't think the process is corrupt. It's all secret ballots. It's all this stuff. So to try and prevent corruption. That being said, there is something that is so Chicago about, hey, I'm going to make you a cardinal if you make me the Pope.
Chicago, bro. Chicago.
The papacy fell off the back of a truck.
Yeah. I mean, come on now. We had what, a governor who went to jail for selling the Senate seat? Come on now.
Yeah. I think we have more governors in jail than any other state.
I think that's accurate. I think 4 of our past governors have seen jail time.
Yeah.
I
don't know. At least 4, right? I don't know.
I think it's at least 4. We'll talk about that one day. We could definitely run through former governors and everything.
That sounds good.
It's weird to me to think that Pope Benedict was only around for 7 years. I guess John Paul's the one that I think about the most, I guess.
Yeah, John Paul, JP2 was Pope forever. That's why I was surprised that anybody beat him.
Yeah. There's a lot of speculation that because I guess you could choose your name.
Mm-hmm.
He's not, he's not Pope Robert, obviously. He's not Pope, choose Pope Leo. But I'm guessing when you choose a name, he becomes Pope Leo, because there's 267 popes on here. I'm not running through all of them right now on the show.
Right.
I'm guessing there's 13 other Pope Leos in this list somewhere.
Correct.
Everyone assumes that the reason he chose Leo was because he became Leo the 14th. And the reason he's Leo the 14th is because he is, as stated, a White Sox fan. And one of the most well-known White Sox, or one of the most popular White Sox, especially in his lifetime. Actually, when was he born? 55. So I guess recent most famous White Sox would be Paul Konerko, who was number 14. So that's a lot of speculation. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is. I mean, I'm sure maybe one day he'll do an interview. Mm-hmm. Maybe one day they'll ask him. I don't know if it's, forbidden to ask or not. I'll ask it. Come on the show. I'll ask you. Let me interview you. Come on this show.
Yeah,
we'll interview you.
But the number one reason that popes pick their names is because they are picking after they want to name themselves after somebody that they admire, or a papacy that they want to emulate. So like Francis is the first Francis there's ever been. And he chose that after Francis of Assisi, the famous guy who could talk to animals and did all kinds of miracles and stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
Started the Franciscan order of monks. And he liked the way that Francis of Assisi made a vow of poverty. And so sort of in contrast to Pope Benedict the XVI was all about wearing the papal finery and having Gucci leather shoes and a big gaudy golden throne. And Francis was like, no, I'm only going to wear my white alb unless I have to wear something else. Mm-hmm. I'm only going to have this simple wooden chair. I'm going to have cheap shoes. It was sort of this rejection of the finery of the papacy in Francis. And so Leo, this is what I've heard about why he picked Leo the 14th. Leo the 13th was the Pope about 100 years ago, at the turn of the 20th century, and that at that time was a period of industrialization. And
Yeah.
so Leo the 13th was very big on like workers' rights and making sure that as industry consolidated and factories built up, that people weren't being taken advantage of. And you know, there's a lot of Catholic social doctrine, which is like to me the absolute best part of the Catholic faith, other than their churches. Like the sacred spaces are awesome, but theologically, the best part of the Catholic faith is the Catholic social doctrine of like, you know, visit the sick and imprisoned, care for the
Yeah.
poor, feed the hungry, you know, all of that stuff. A lot of that was consolidated and actually developed underneath Leo, or not developed, but formalized
Hmm.
as part of the church. And so, what I have heard is that Leo the 14th, he's looking at now and going like, okay, we've moved from industrialism into the age of Silicon Valley, the age of the computer. And you know, once again, we're at a crossroads where people's rights are being trampled, where you know, there's a lot of money being made by a lot of people, but it's not all trickling down to everybody who needs it.
Hmm.
Um, and especially with the development of AI, I mean, we are at a point where, um, you know, if you're a person who believes in AI, I'm not very strongly one of them. But in an ideal world, AI would do all of the bullshit jobs that none of us want to do,
Yeah.
that don't have to be done by a person. And then the money that is generated by that would be paid out as like a universal benefit to everybody who no longer has a job because they don't need you to work anymore. That's something that I think Leo the 14th would push for, based on this namesake.
I gotcha. That's. I mean, that's a lot better than saying that you chose Park Canerico, but
I love the idea that it shows up to Paul
right.
Canerco. I can't deny. I love a Chicago Pope. I think it's very funny how
Mhm.
quickly in the days after, like even in the hours after he was elected, people were like, he's a Cubs fan.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
like as soon as they could get a hold of any of his family or friends, they were like, he hates the Cubs.
He was,
He's a White Sox fan.
White Sox fan. Yep.
Lifelong White Sox fan. Here's video of him at the 2005 World Series.
Right.
It's just like, ba, 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 da.
That's but that's the thing, is like that that's definitely Chicago. That's definitely an Illinois thing, you
Yep.
know, and you know, and that's kind of cool, like when you really think about it, like deep down, because I know there's a lot of things going on, especially like right now with uh new laws that are being passed and being signed down in Springfield, and it's just like everything's like such a headache, and everyone gets things like it's like, will Illinois get better? Will Illinois be better? You know, blah blah blah. It's like we got a pope. I mean, it's like how can it not get better now? You know,
Right.
it's like not. We are literally the only state in the United States that can say that.
Yeah.
You know, as of right now. So you know,
Also,
nobody can take that away.
the other thing that I love, and I truly believe that these things are connected.
Mhm.
Within like a week of it coming out that the Pope is a White Sox fan, the current owners of the White Sox were like, "Fine, we'll sell.
Yeah,
We're
and
gonna
that
stop trying to move it to Nashville. We're gonna just sell it to somebody who wants to keep it here."
and that was one of the cool things too. Dude, and I don't know if you looked at like what that agreement is.
Mm-mm.
It's kind of goofy. And actually, I wasn't even planning on talking about that, but we could definitely talk about that too. Because like
I'm
I said,
not
everything.
surprised to hear that, knowing what I know of the Reinsdorfs.
But because everything's because like I said, everything's kind of circled around the White Sox. So yeah, so Pope Leo, huge fan of the White Sox. They have a photo of him at the playoffs in 2005, the year they won the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they did something unique with the seat he was sitting in. I think there's a mural of him now at the Sox Park.
Nice.
So they're really kind of invested in this whole Pope being part of the White Sox. One of the other cool things that kind of happened, White Sox related, and this I don't think this isn't Pope related. This is just baseball in general related, which long overdue. But you know the story of the Chicago Black Sox, correct?
Loosely, yeah. They were
Yeah.
the guys who allegedly through the World Series to make money betting on it.
Yes. So back in 1918, Chicago White Sox, at the time, Mr. Kaminsky owned the White Sox, and he was a very cheap man. Did not want to pay his players. I think there was one guy that there was one pitcher he had that he had to pitch a certain amount of innings in order to get like this bonus. I think the bonus was like $100 back in the day. Obviously, it's a lot of money. And Kaminsky made the manager pull him from the game before he hit that. Like he had like one inning left, or maybe two, or whatever. Had the coach manager pull him from the game and sat him the rest of the season, which is like maybe like a couple weeks or something like that. But he didn't pitch for the rest of the season, so he didn't ever get that bonus. So there was eight players. So there's 8 players that were charged for being part of this scheme, where these gamblers, these mob guys said, "Hey, listen, we'll pay you to throw the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds." And that's pretty much what they did. You know, they played a little bit, you know, they didn't play as good as they should. Obviously, bad pitching, bad fielding, bad batting, everything. Now, out of everybody, the one person everyone thought shouldn't have been banned was Shoeless Joe Jackson. Even though he was a part of it, he knew about it. He still played very well in the game. He really didn't throw anything. He still played, but he got banned because he knew of it. So obviously they were all banned in 1919. Sorry, not 1918. 1919. Obviously after that they went on the curse, and they didn't win until 2005. Well, as of late, recently, Manfred, who is the commissioner of baseball, decided to lift the ban on the 8 men who were, blacklisted from baseball.
So if they're still alive, they can go to a game.
Right. Well, the positive of it is based on what they did in baseball then opens up the opportunity to be inducted into the Hall of Fame now.
Ah, gotcha.
So I don't know a whole lot about the stats of the guys. Shoeless Joe Jackson's probably gonna end up in the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
I'm sure.
yeah.
I'm sure some of these other guys will too. Side note: outside the White Sox and everything, Pete Rose also got his ban lifted. Unfortunately, posthumously, but he's also one that a lot of people argue should have never been banned from baseball. Did he gamble? Yes. He openly admitted that he gambled on the games that he played. Now, the problem everyone had was that he was gambling on baseball. But the thing was, he always bet on his team to win. So it's like he never betted against his team and threw the game to lose. He always betted on his team to win.
Sure.
But the commissioner at the time didn't care, banned him, whatever. You're out of baseball. And for years, he tried to appeal it. They said no. He tried no. And I think it was either last year or 2 years ago. Even though he was banned from baseball, the Cincinnati Reds started doing like Pete Rose Day, have him coming out to the field and everything, and kind of being part of the team again. Unfortunately, passing away, but now he is, no more banned. So Pete Rose will end up in the Hall of Fame. It'll just unfortunately be, after he passed away, which kind of sucks too. But as far as the Black Sox go, yes. So in 1919, they threw the World Series. The Reds lost. They all got banned, but now they're all good. So we got a Pope who loves the White Sox, and now one of the most famous White Sox in the world, Shoeless Joe Jackson, will end up in the Hall of Fame. It's all connecting.
Nice.
The other thing related to the White Sox is I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's called the 78.
No.
Okay, so it's in Chicago. And what it is, it's a plot of land. It's in Chicago, from Rosemont Road south to 16th Street and Clark Street west to Chicago River.
All right.
Big vacant plot of land that people have been trying to develop for years, but nobody's ever wanted to do it yet. Well, the White Sox want to put a stadium on this land.
Right.
Now, Reindorf is a cheap bastard.
Yep.
Clearly, he's not paying for it.
It sounds like a proud tradition for White Sox owners.
100%. So, what he wants to do is he wants to build a stadium there.
Yeah.
But he wants the citizens of Illinois to pay for it. Very similar to like the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
They want they want tax revenue, whatever they want, whatever it's called, to pay for the stadium.
Right.
And clearly, everyone's like, I don't think that's going to happen. No, probably not, blah, blah. That's, the whole well, I guess we'll just move to Nashville. I guess we'll do this, we'll do that and everything. But now they're kind of like, we'll keep the idea open. Let's see what happens. Because as of right now, I don't know what the amount of money it would be. But if the Sox are trying to build a stadium and the Bears are trying to build a stadium and they both want Illinois to pay for it,
yeah,
a lot of money.
Yeah, we're talking about billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars, 100%. So, as of right now, the 78 is just sitting there, vacant, hoping that the Sox build on this plot of land. They made this cool little display of what it would look like. They made this these renderings of what the stadium will look like on the land and the river flowing across from it, and all these malls and new developments that would be built around this area, and maybe a hotel, walking distance from everything's beautiful.
Yep.
Chicago Fire.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't know who that is. That is the soccer team for Chicago. Not the fire that happened with the cow today, the Chicago Fire. Well, the Chicago Fire wants to build a stadium.
Yep.
Right? Because they play in Soldier Field. They want a stadium of their own. So you got the Sox who want a stadium, you got the Bears who want a stadium, now you want Chicago Fire who want a stadium for themselves. They don't want to share, they want to have their own stadium. I guess a soccer stadium. Maybe other play soccer, I don't know, but they don't want to play on a football field. Right. Even though it's both soccer, football, whatever.
Right.
Now the difference, I don't know if you're looking at any of this as I'm talking, but the difference between the Chicago Fire and the Bears and Sox is that the owner of the Chicago Fire is willing to pay for it himself.
I have
privately funded. So more than likely, that's the thing that's going to happen. More than likely, he is going to get the plot 78 or whatever it's called. The 78. He's going to build this. I think it was a 9,000 seat soccer stadium or something on the 78. Clearly, the White Sox ain't happy about it.
Yeah. Surely you mean 90,000, right?
Is it? I thought it could be 90. Oh, you know what? It's a 9-acre site, so that's where I'm getting the 9 from.
Gotcha.
So I'm sure
22,000. I just found
22,000. Okay, yeah. Definitely not 90. 90's
nine seems too small though.
90 is definitely nine is definitely small. I don't seriously. I don't know what the. I don't know how exciting soccer is in Chicago. I really don't. I would love to go see a Chicago Fire game, but 22,000 makes a lot more sense. The 9-acre site. So,
gotcha.
Right now, there is a discussion on possibly building both a soccer stadium and a ballpark on this site. The Fire are hoping to have it by 2028. Sox are stuck at the field that they're at least until 2029.
Gotcha.
Bears, I think they own their stadium. I don't think they really have a lease on it. Whatever is theirs. So, the expectation of taxes going up, probably. I don't see, even with the potential new owner coming to the White Sox, I don't see it happening. But let's dive into that real quick since that was brought up. I think it's Ishbia.
Sounds right.
Ishbia White Sox. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so plan is in place for the future of the Chicago White Sox as Justin Ishbia stepping into the on-deck circle. Fun. Sox chairman Jerry Reindorf and Ishbia reached a long-term investment agreement that establishes a framework for Ishbia to obtain the future controlling interest in the team, the White Sox announced on Thursday. This is from the Chicago Tribune. Ishbia, who's the founder and managing partner of Chicago's-based private equity firm Shore Capital Partners, which fantastic, a Chicago-based business owner owning a Chicago team, fantastic. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, I'm sure it's going to say it somewhere in here. He also currently owns a portion of the Phoenix Suns, so he is already a owner of another basketball team, just like Reindorf owns the Chicago Bulls. Let's see here. Which makes capital infusion into the Sox as a limited partner in 2025 and 2026 that he will use to pay down debt and support ongoing operations to the team. So even though he is just a minority owner at this time, he is committed to make capital infusions, which I'm not sure what that means, but he's putting money into the team. Now,
Yeah.
they talk about debt. They talk about supporting ongoing operations. I don't think, which a lot of people believe, it's he's going to, invest in contracts for players. I don't think that's what this is. I think this is clearing debts that Sox have, and also maybe paying some executives that may or may not be owed money. That's what I think it is. Now, if it is to invest in players, that'd be fantastic, but I don't think that's what it is. Reindorf, who is 89 years old, mind you, says he will sell the controlling interest of the Sox to Ishbia between 2029 and 2033. So let's keep this in mind. 2029 is 4 years away.
The hubris of being 89 years old and saying, I'm not going to sell for 5 to 6 years.
Yeah. At 89 years
5
old,
to 8 years.
Yeah. So he is going to be at the youngest 93 years old when he decides if he wants to sell it. If he wants to hold on to it until 2033, you're looking at 8 years. You're looking at him being 97 roughly.
Just run for president, you guy.
Right. After 2034, however, it'll be Ishbia's decision if he chooses to want to own the team or not. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people got to realize. 2029 is also the same year that their lease is up at the ballpark. So what this could do now, if it doesn't happen sooner, which I don't see it happening sooner than 2029, which, God forbid, without the death of Jerry Reindorf. I know a lot of people want it to happen. I don't want somebody to die just so the White Sox can be better. I don't. If for some reason he cannot control it, cannot do it, and his sons, who also own a portion of the White Sox, decide, hey, listen, let's get Ishbia into this, because they're going to need his money. Being a billionaire, they're going to need his money to make this team contenders, value more, to be a team that people want to go watch. Because I haven't really watched Sox games this year. I don't have cable anymore. But when I look at the highlights, there's no one in that stadium. It's just not happening. They need the money. The problem is in 2029, where the first time Reindorf could hand over ownership is also the same year their lease is up at that ballpark. So if they do not have a new ballpark built by that time, or if they do not get moved to another state, because that's still a possibility, that means they're going to be stuck in that stadium under another lease. I don't know how long these leases are, but that's just going to suck if you get a brand new owner stuck in another ballpark. Now, if Reindorf's hoping they get a new stadium, he at least wants to be owner for at least 4 years while they're in that new stadium. Probably in the hopes of accumulating money, making revenue for a brand new ballpark. That's just it's just a little funky that 2029 is the year he chose, because again, that's when the lease is up. So
yeah.
The Sox said that in the event of any such transaction, all limited partners would have the opportunity to sell to Ishbia at that time. Ishbia's brother Matt and father Jeff also will be significant investors. So this is very similar to the Ricketts, I believe the last name, the Rickett family of the Chicago Cubs. They'll be a family-owned ball club. In April, CNBC article ranked the Sox number 15 on the Major League Baseball valuation list at $2.15 billion. Now, keep in mind, Reindorf bought this team for several $100 million. Actually, I think it was more like $80 million back in like 1980. Ishbia has estimated net worth of $4.3 billion in 2023. He and his brother bought a majority stake of the NBA Phoenix Suns and the WNBA's Phoenix Mercury. And Justin serves as the alternate governor of the Suns, Mercury, and Major League Soccer Nashville CS. Ishbia, 47, grew up in suburban Detroit. He owns a 3.7-acre lakefront property in Winnetka, where a mansion is being built as a reported cost of $43.7 million. The construction has sparked controversy over public beach access and land swap deals with the Winnetka Park District. The Sox says there's no assurance a future transaction will occur, and in no evidence would a transaction take place before 2029. the Reindorf family will continue to own the controlling interest of the team until then. Reindorf has been the White Sox chairman since he and Eddie Einhorn led a group that purchased the franchise from Bill Veeck in 1981. He remains the team's sole day-to-day decision maker. I have an incredible opportunity to own the White Sox and be part of the Major League Baseball for nearly 50 years. Has been a life-changing experience, Reindorf said in a statement. I've always expressed my intent to operate the White Sox as long as I am able to remain committed to returning this franchise to the level of on-field success we all expect and desire. But without paying for the players, that ain't going to happen. See, we don't need to talk about that. They had the worst record last year, 121 losses. They play 162 games. So, yeah. Anyways, long story short, we could potentially have a brand new owner within the next 5 years, potentially a brand new stadium within the next 5 years. And all the while, we have a Pope who is a fan of all of it. Blessing Sox. So I'm calling it now. Sox will be World Series champs by 2035, which will be the 30th year anniversary of them winning the World Series in 2005. And it's just 10 years from this point. Because if I know Reindorf like I know Reindorf, and I only know him through what I see him doing, he is never going to pay money for a guaranteed elite player to play for the White Sox. He's going to hope for the best and grab what he can to trade for some prospects, build them up, hopefully through the farm system. Hopefully they're good, just to trade them away and wash, rinse, repeat until he either passes away or hands off ownership.
All right.
That is my discussion about the Chicago White Sox. So,
Nice.
Joe, what are you freaking thinking about?
What am I freaking thinking about? I mean, honestly, masonry. I'm having a really good time getting back into that. And we got a thing this Saturday where we're advancing some is it some or just one? I think it might just be one EA to Fellowcraft. Feels weird. Feels weird to think that it's just one, but there must be a handful of guys, or it must be a weird thing. But I guess we got this guy who is gonna immediately join the Shriners, and he's made good friends with the Shriners Lodge out here. So he'll probably leave our lodge and join theirs almost immediately as soon as he's made a master. He gets his third degree. One of the cool things that's supposed to happen is because he's good friends with the Shriners, they reached out to Grand Lodge. And so the Grand Lodge is going to send their master out to us, to Medina Lodge, to do his degree work. And that it's supposed to be a pretty cool show. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm trying to get on. We just elected our new slate of people. And so I'm trying to get on to that guy's line, our new president's line. There's a couple of positions that were still open when we did the election, but I couldn't do the installation this last weekend because of a couple of birthday and graduation parties out of state. So anyway, I'm excited to be getting back into it. I really missed it. And it's been really good to get back in. So a lot of cool stuff happening in the next few weeks and months that I hope I can be involved in. So
I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome, man. I'm glad for you. I'm really happy for you.
Mm-hmm. What about you? What are you freaking thinking about?
I've been really invested in trying to figure out my family history. So much more than ever as of late, just because I continuously keep learning more and figuring out more about my grandparents and more about their history. And when you sit here and think to yourself like, wow, here's these great grand aunts and uncles that you never hear about, and you're thinking you have one that lived in New Hampshire and ended up being a millionaire, and have one that just just kind of like went into hiding because of an abusive relationship, or somebody who who was put up for adoption and end up with a great family. It's like all these wild stories and like wild like history of like all these people. Like there's between my dad's parents, well, even like, just by saying like my dad, my aunt, and my uncle collectively had 7, 8, 9, 10 to 11 aunts and uncles collectively between both parents that they rarely saw or anyone ever rarely talked about. Because their grandfather barely had anything to do with his siblings, or the grandmother only talked to a few of them because she was the oldest of 8, and the youngest was like 16 years younger. It's but what I'm thinking about is, and it's funny because it's relatable to you, is that my dad's grandfather, and his wife, so my grandfather's parents are born in a cemetery not far from your church.
Yeah.
So
we talked about this a little bit last time.
Yeah, so the Bohemian National Cemetery is where they're buried. At Find a Grave, they have no photos of it. I submitted a request, so hopefully somebody take pictures of it. It hasn't been answered, so I'm thinking about just going myself.
Yeah, do it. Let me know. I'll meet you there.
I'm not, like I said, because I'm not a huge fan of driving through the city. I don't really like it too much. I don't do it that often. But I think this is far enough out of the city where it's just going to be more of like just focusing on like, was it Pulaski? I mean, I could do that, it's, but
it's Foster and Pulaski. I've lived within 10 miles of it for almost a decade.
Yeah. So I've been spending the last few weeks kind of like, picking, I was like, okay, let's look at this. And it's like, I want to go into the cemetery in Pietro, and I don't know if it's if it's a stupid idea or not, but I want to go again for Find a Grave. When people request stuff, nobody's answering these. Like I want to go to the Pietro Cemetery, and I want to find these graves that people aren't going for. And I thought about making a vlog out of it, and then people are like, I don't know, do you really want to like utilize people's requests for like content stuff like that? I'm like, I just want to do it so I can show other people that I'm doing it. Maybe I'll encourage them to do the same. Maybe there are people who don't know that's a thing on Find a Grave, and there's a dozen of people. So I was like, I think like maybe I'll start doing that. I'm gonna go to the Bohemian National Cemetery. I'll probably go like maybe on a weekend where, I have the free time, not from work, and maybe the traffic's not as bad. If I go like maybe in the morning or something, get the photos, and I can sit there and finally say, even though it's just a cemetery, it's just a grave, I'm meeting my great grandfather on my dad's side, for the first time, and his wife who passed away from TB, and so I think I've just been thinking a lot about that. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah. Hey Joe.
Yeah.
If our listeners want to catch Cartoon Joe, clearly they could do that here on this freaking show, but it's only about an hour a week. Maybe it's not enough for them. So if our listeners need to find more Cartoon Joe, where can they go?
If you need more Cartoon Joe, you can find me over the Geekcast Live podcast at violentpress.com. You can also find us on Facebook, iTunes, Blue Sky, and Spotify by searching Geekcast Live.
Excellent. We're going to try something a little bit new here. Guys, tune in next week where we're going to talk about corrupt politicians in Chicago. Yeah, let's tell them what they're going to expect next week.
Nice.
We'll see what happens. Also, I want to try getting more guests on the show here. So if you guys know of anyone you want us to bring on, maybe a returning guest or somebody new, let us know as well. Follow us on social media. Hit us up on Facebook. That's where we're the most active. This freaking show. Search us, find us, follow us. Tell us there, like, hey, bring back blah, blah, blah. Or you should get this so-and-so on or whatever, And, we're going to do a lot more like guest hosts and stuff like that. I want to bring some of the Freakin Studios people on here. Just kind of like, get some different perspectives, point of views, a lot of chat and everything. So, season 9, again, it's us just being us, just us here socializing and BSing, just doing what we do best. So continue to listen wherever you pick up your podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you rate us over there. If you want to watch the show, you can do so now over at the Freakin Studios YouTube channel. Freakin Studios is the umbrella, content group that we created. There's a bunch of our cool people on there. If you go over to that YouTube channel, you can find all the podcasts that we're associated with. Make sure you subscribe to them as well, too. So, guys, that's all I got. So, as always, I am Travesty.
And I'm Cartoon Joe.
And thank you for listening to another episode of this freaking show. I'm out.